Hey everyone, in this video, I'm going to show you how you can use OpenAI's Codex to orchestrate agents in parallel across multiple hosted cloud development environments using Gadget. So this is OpenAI's latest tool, Codex. It does share the same name as their models, which is delightfully confusing. It allows you to orchestrate agents across projects. And what I'm going to use it to do is run agents in parallel against the same project using worktrees. Now, let's talk Gadget a little bit. Gadget gives you a hosted development environment. So it's everything you need. If I just flip over here, everything you need to run a web app. It's got Postgres included. You get a Node.js backend, a React frontend, bundled and powered by Vite in development. And you can see I've got some data models in this app. There's a built-in background job system. Elasticsearch is tied in. It is infrastructureless. So you can spin up one of these development environments instantly. You can either use the web UI here, or I'm going to use my CLI integrated with Codex. And it instantly summons all this infrastructure. We've got APIs in front of all these infrastructure layers. And I don't need to worry about any sort of manual setup or container management. So if we take a look at this app, this is just a little app I'm building myself, jelly.fish. We have our own query language because you don't get access to the Postgres database. So you're not using SQL, you're using Jelly to query data. And this is just a little, you complete challenges, kind of learn the Jelly language. I will say, if you have used dbquacks before, it uses DuckDB to teach you SQL. Looks pretty similar. Anyways, this is just for teaching people Jelly. It's just been something I've kind of been working on the side. So I'm going to use Codex to make some changes, orchestrate parallel agents on my project here. I've already got some data models set up. I've already got some actions, which are going to be my serverless functions. So let's go over to Codex. I'm going to go ahead. No, do you want, before we talk about that, let's talk about what this all looks like. So you see, I've got this hosted environment. We have a CLI tool at Gadget, GGT, and I can run this GGT dev command, and that will bring all of my project code and configuration down to my local machine. So I'm still building using local tooling. I know this looks like a web IDE. I don't have to build in here. I want to build using my local tools, local agents, whatever. GGT dev will continue to run, which means that any changes made locally will be pushed up to this cloud environment and vice versa. And when things are brought down locally, I can use Git, change branches, work as I normally would because everything in the editor is available as code or configuration. And typically, each individual developer would have their own hosted development environment, and everyone is running GGT dev on their local machine. So this is how developers and teams are building apps in parallel on Gadget. Agents kind of flip this on their head. Instead of one developer having one cloud development environment, developers with parallel agents can use Git worktrees to create multiple local copies of the same app. And what we want to use Codex to do is spin up cloud development environments for each available worktree. And that's what I'm going to show off today. So this means that I can spin up independent. Each development environment is completely independent. It is a fresh database. So there's no existing data in there. I can use it for testing independent of other branches, other features, and then I can go ahead and tear down that development environment when I'm finished. I can create my Git branch, but we'll walk through the actual flow. But it is instantly summoning the infrastructure, so I don't need to deal with any setup when I create my new work tree. It's just instantly available. I sync code to it, and I'm good to go. So let's check out how we can do this. It works really well with Codex because of some of the worktree management stuff. There's still a couple little rough edges, but I'll talk about those as we go. We're also making some improvements on our side in Gadget to both our CLI tool and the Gadget product, some of our APIs to make it a smoother experience for working with your local agent tools. So first thing I want to point out, if I shift over here, I am using Codex to call GGT, our CLI. In order to make network calls, I am giving it full access. So that is just a little note. I have clicked this and it has full access right now. Just a warning. I'm going to go ahead. I've got a couple other projects. This is our Gadget mono repo and then a little changelog management app that I use. I'm going to go ahead and add a new project. And I'm going to choose my Jelly Wiggle. Jelly Wiggle is what I originally called it, not Jellyfish. Jellyfish is a better name. So you notice as I select that, if I just want to go ahead, I've got a Gadget best practices skill, I can prompt it and it'll make changes to the local repo I have on my machine. Where things get neat is when I select worktree. What a get worktree is, if you haven't used them before, I think I've used them. I think I've physically typed get worktree into a terminal maybe once in my career before 2 weeks ago kind of thing. So worktrees are a separate copy of a repo that are typically tied to a branch. So it is a complete copy of all of your code and configuration, and it allows you to complete work in parallel. Now, previously, there wasn't a huge need for this. I was only able to work on one thing at a time. Now with agents, we can orchestrate in parallel, so there's a need for worktrees. What Codex will do is allow me to create worktrees. So when I enter a prompt and send it off, it'll go ahead, create a ephemeral copy of my Jelly Wiggle repo, do some work, and then I can create a branch and push up changes. Now, the key thing is I also want to create one of those cloud environments when I do that. See, I have no environment selected now, so I can go ahead and create. Am I on Jelly Wiggle? I am on Jelly Wiggle. I can go ahead and create an environment. So I see this. I can go ahead and add. We can keep the name Jelly Wiggle. You can call it Wiggle Workspace. How delightful. And now I can add some setup scripts. So I am just going to actually copy setup scripts and then walk through them. Okay, we're running 3 things, and the flow here is a little weird. We're working to improve this. When I create my new worktree here in Codex, it's going to create a local copy or a copy from one of my Git branches into a new directory. So I already have code and configuration in my worktree. I want to go ahead and push that up to one of my existing hosted cloud environments. In this case, I am just choosing my development environment. I'm doing that because I then need to pull. So when I create my worktree, I am not copying over all of the configuration files. There's a .gadget, a sync.json file that I need. So I need to actually pull configuration from the cloud environment, but I don't want to overwrite the code that I originally copied when I created my worktree. So I'm doing a push and a pull. That's a little silly. We're going to hopefully simplify this, but this just makes sure I have all the files I need locally to start working. Then I can go ahead and call GGT add environment. I'm just adding an environment called Codex, and then I'm using the random name that is assigned to the parent directory of my project. Now, this is one of my asks. It would be super groovy if I could create a branch up front. I'm going to show you how you can create branches in a little bit, but if I create a branch up front and I could pass that into this script and just use that, it would make it much easier to manage my environments and know which one was which. But for now, I'm just using random names. You can also just run this GGT add environment command if you want to be more prescriptive about the names you're giving your cloud environments. I'm just doing this so it's stood up by default. So I'm just going to go ahead and save. And let's go ahead. Let's just try this out. So I've got worktree. I've got my Wiggle Workspace environment. I am going to start from my main branch. You see that here? Main. Perfect. And then I don't know where all this came from. I accidentally clicked the button, build a classic snake game. I do not want a classic snake game. I'm going to use my Gadget best practices skill. First thing I'm going to do is I want a publicly available leader board for my app. Each completed challenge is worth 1 point. Only the top 10 participants are on the leaderboard, and that's probably fine for now. I could add more. Ultimately, if I want this feature, I would like them to be opt-in. I want users to go ahead and say yes, I want to be on the leaderboard, enter a little gamer tag. I'll leave it at this for now. I think this is fine. We'll see what we get. So what this will do, you can see it's starting worktree creation. It does create the worktree at this location. I am pushing, I am pulling, And then I have added my environment. I'm actually just going to, it moved a little fast for me. So I still need to run, if I just flip over here, I still need to run this ggt dev command. I'm not including that as part of my script, and that's because it continues to run in the background. So if I take a peek, this 4fb2 is important, and I can go ggt dev, and then I've named my environment Codex 4fb2. And what this will do, see, it's calculating changes. There are already some changes, so I'm just gonna keep my local stuff, and ggt dev will continue to run. So any changes that, it appears that it's asking me questions. Any changes that Codex makes will now be synced up to my cloud environment. I'm just gonna say, do what you think is best. Just so that it moves on. And now I can go ahead and, normally I would put a bit more effort into this. This is a bit of a weird situation for a demo. I am just gonna get it to move on. And I can go ahead and wiggle workspace. Let's spin something else up. I find that using the skill is the best way to make sure it gets called, but I'm going to just say, change my color palette from purple to green. Cool, and now I have parallel agents working, different workspaces. I am just gonna copy this Codex F14C because I will need to run that ggt dev command again. Once again, ggt dev environment. Keep my local, perfect, and we're good. Now we can let these cook. So if I go back over to my Gadget project, I see that this means that ggt dev or ggt is running on different environments. I can see I've got both of my environments here. So once again, these are cloud environments. I've got Postgres, Node, background jobs, Elasticsearch, all the infrastructure I need for my app is already set up and provisioned, and I can just go ahead and test now as the agent completes tasks. One thing I do want to call out, I've got my data models here. They've got the schema and there's a data page. By default, when I create these new environments, there's going to be no data. So I actually like to use the Gadget assistant here. Please create some sample data for my models. And I need to do that on each environment. Please create sample data for my models. This just makes it nice and easy to test. We're also looking to add maybe a ggt command or something that we can automatically seed some test data when there's existing models. And what this will do is it will say, generating data. I will have to click accept. Yay, confirm. And the reason I'm doing this is because I've done a bad job of actually building the app. So if there's no data and I look to move on in the app itself, it'll fail. Anyway, so it seems like things are still happening. I do just want to point out here in Codex, there's a diff view over here. I've already shown off the terminal. You can open this work tree in whatever editor you choose. I typically like to look at my changes and review code here in an IDE. I'm still tied to this. I don't use the in Codex one very often. But if you want to use this diff or just create a branch and inspect on GitHub, that you can do that too. So there we go. It looks like the color palette's done, which is expected, I guess. A little simpler of a change. This is where the random names get a little weird. I'm not really sure. This one is probably my color palette one, but to verify that, I can go ahead and inspect what environment GGT is running against, and I can go ahead, 4FC1, color palette. Okay, let's take a peek. Once again, it's hosted. I don't have to do anything. Ooh, yeah, that's green. That is green. So I can do a couple things now. If I like that, I can go ahead, click work here. Work here is how you go ahead and spin up a branch. You can also hand off to local to bring it back to your main repository that you created your workspace from. I'm just gonna work here, create a branch. It will auto-populate with a branch name. I'm going to go green machine because that's very important for me to do. And I can go ahead and commit. And if I leave it blank, it'll just generate a commit message. So that's groovy. Excellent. I can also follow up on this. I can be like, hey, I was thinking of more of a Shrek's Swamp vibe. Perfect. And as that runs, I can see my leaderboard is done. It did some stuff. So if I go back here, change to the other environment, pop it open. Excellent. I don't see a leaderboard link. I'm kind of expecting one. And I don't see a leaderboard link. So let's just go back to Codex and be like, yo. So it says open leaderboard. I will say, I don't see a link for the leaderboard on my homepage. But it did apparently add the route. So we can take a peek there. Leaderboard. Looks like a leaderboard. It does. I'm assuming that this is because it is making changes. I could be wrong about that. Let's try this again. Loading leaderboard. No. What's nice about this is I can just copy this. I see this error when I open the leaderboard. But there we go. This is not perhaps following my color palette. It looks a little funky. I would obviously be iterating on this. Oh, is this done? That is looking a little more Shrek's swampy. I'll say. I will say. That is something. Wow. Let's check out the schema view. Ooh, yeah. I'm kind of digging the green. I'm going to stick with purple, but I'm kind of digging this. I'm kind of digging this Shrek's swamp theme. Anyways, that's how you can work. If I like this green better, I can go ahead and create another commit. Now we're Shrekin. And if I want, I can push. I can create a PR. I'll just keep it local for now. And now let's say this is done. I'm happy. I can go ahead and close down, shut down, tear down this work tree. When I confirm, this folder locally will be torn down. So I'll do that for my color palette change. Now, the one thing that we're looking to improve in Gadget is I also have to go and tear down the environment. I believe it was my F4C1. I need to tear this down manually, and we're looking to improve that. Add a CLI command that does it. I do wish that Codex had in addition to the stand-up environment script, a teardown script would also be groovy. But we can also add these actions here. So if you do want to go ahead and add a custom action, we could give it a name. And once Gadget, we don't have a teardown script in GGT yet, but when we have one, I could go ahead and add that so that I just click on it in the Codex UI, tear down that cloud environment, and then collapse my work tree. So that was just a quick peek at OpenAI's Codex tool and how you can use it to parallel or run parallel agents against different work trees, against different cloud development environments that we created automatically using Gadget, as it will test out all these changes on live infrastructure, which is pretty groovy. This is all super new. Codex is 2 or 3 days old at this point. I've noodled around with it a bit. It seems pretty groovy. I'm going to continue to use and explore it. It does feel pretty good once you develop the right workflow of how am I reviewing code? How am I orchestrating my multiple agents? Am I working on one project or multiple projects? I like it though. It's pretty neat, and I will continue to explore it. So if there's any workflows you want to see, any suggestions you have, just let me know. Reach out. I'm either on our developer Discord or on one of my socials. Always happy to chat. I'm curious to see where this goes, and as we add more GGT functionality, and as the Codex team at OpenAI improves this product, I might do little follow-ups if there are major things to update. Until next time, I hope you keep building more and coding less with Gadget.